Hey friends, it's Hope and today I'm here to do my February wrap up. Now it is February 24th, I'm doing a little pre-filming, but I think that I'm going to spend the rest of my month not reading any books because I'm in a little bit of a slumpish mood and I think I'm just gonna binge watch on some Netflix shows. We all know that we've been there. But yeah, I ended up reading 13 books this month, so I feel like I'm okay with just taking a little bit of a break and picking back up in March. So without further ado, let's get started on the books that I read in the month of February. The first one I read and I absolutely adored, and that was Falling Kingdoms by Morgan Rhodes. My friend Cassidy over at Cassidy Avonshea gifted me this book, and I've heard so much hype about it, and so I was kind of hesitant to pick it up, especially because I wasn't a huge fantasy reader, but her gifting me this book gave me that push that I needed to start it. And if you guys don't know anything about the book, I did a 3 for 3 book review and I will leave that link down below. But just to give you a little synopsis of what this amazing book is all about, we have 3 kingdoms that are all trying to rise to power, and the fate relies on 4 very uniquely different people. Those people are a rebel, a sorceress, an heir, and a princess. This book gave me everything I could have wanted in a YA fantasy. We have political scheming, we have betrayal, we have forbidden love and unlikely alliances. I adored it so much. So yeah, 5 out of 5 stars. Thank you so much, Cassidy, for making me read this book because I just absolutely adored it. And then after that, I read book 2 to the On Dublin Street series, and that was Down London Road. I thought that this was a super sweet new adult book. If you guys read On Dublin Street, definitely pick up book 2. It was so precious. I ended up rating that book a 5 out of 5 stars. And then my friends, I finally finished Wicked by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I ended up rating this a 4 out of 5 stars. This book takes place in New Orleans, Louisiana, which is right down the road for me, so it was really cool to read about a book that I have actually been to that setting. This book's ending had me thinking, oh crap, how are our characters going to get on in the second book? So with that said, I definitely will be continuing this trilogy, and I cannot wait to see what happens to Ivy and Ren. And we all know Jennifer L. Armentrout writes some very swoon-worthy characters, and Ren was no exception. The next book I read was a request from the author herself, Rachel Higginson, and she asked me if I would be interested in reading the first book to her Starcrossed series, and that book was Reckless Magic. I did recently do a non-spoiler book review. I will link that down below, but I ended up rating this book a 3.5 out of 5 stars, and it had an amazing ending which made me want to pick up the rest of the series immediately. After completely falling in love with a Francine Rivers book called Redeeming Love, I knew that I wanted to get my hands on another Francine Rivers book ASAP, and so I found A Voice in the Wind by Francine Rivers at a local thrift store, and I thought I would give it a go. And unfortunately, I did not like this one as much as Redeeming Love. I also did a non-spoiler book review. I had a very unpopular opinion of this book because it got crazy good, amazing ratings. Oh, and I don't even know if I said what I rated it, but I ended up rating this book a 2 out of 5 stars. But remember, friends, my opinion was very unpopular. After that, I knew that I probably needed something a little romancy, something new adult to kind of get me out of that grumpy reading mood that I was in, if you guys can feel me. And I actually entered into an Instagram giveaway, and I won the book that they were giving away, which I was super excited about. The book that I won was A Sweet Addiction by J. Daniels, and it was very heavy on the romance. I would probably not recommend it to anybody younger than me, and I'm 27 years old, so that just says a lot. There were a lot of sections that I was just skipping on through because even I was a little bit uncomfortable with reading. So for that reason, I didn't even rate this book on Goodreads because I just had no idea what to rate it. It was a little risque, if you know what I'm saying. After reading that, I knew I needed to take it a couple notches down and get back into my comfort zone. So I read a young adult book, and that was The Wrath in the Dawn by Renee Audier. I really enjoyed this book too. I ended up rating it a 4 out of 5 stars. I also did a 3 for 3 book review. I just really liked the unlikely love story in this novel, and I love how I had this love-hate relationship with our love interest and how his character really developed throughout the story. It also had some really beautiful lines in this book. After reading that, I continued on the YA train, and I picked up Let It Snow by John Green, Maureen Johnson, and Lauren Miracle. This was also in my 3 for 3. This book has 3 anthologies in it, and it all revolves around an epic snowstorm, so I love the concept of it. The general rating for the whole book, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars, but I thought it was a very sweet read, and it's going to be a movie, I think, this December. After reading and loving Fallen Kingdoms, I knew I needed to run to Barnes & Noble and pick up Rebel Spring by Morgan Rose because I had to know what was going to happen. I read this book. I really loved it. I didn't love it as much as Fallen Kingdoms. Fallen Kingdoms like gave me a whole bunch of feels and made me weak in the knees. This one didn't give me as much of the feels that the first one did, but boy, let me tell ya, I swooned over Jonas Aguilon so much in this book. Like, it was ridiculous. And again, guys, if you haven't read this book series, I highly suggest you pick it up and then we can swoon over Jonas Aguilon together. I ended up rating this book a 4 out of 5 stars. And then after finishing Rebel Spring, I got peer pressured into reading a book called Sweet Girl. One of my coworkers has been loving this series, and so she would stop by my office every day and tell me, Hope, you have to read this book. You have to read this book. So naturally, what do? I read the book. I feel like I peer pressure people all the time on BookTube to read books that I like, so I only felt it fair that I read the book that she was peer pressuring me to read. Sweet Girl is a part of a series called Titan, and it is book 1.5 in the Titan series. I didn't read book 1 and neither did she, so she said it was okay, so I just went for it. Sweet Girl is your typical new adult book. We follow the love story between the brother's younger sister and the brother's best friend. What I loved about this little twist though was the brother's best friend was the one that was wanting to like tell the world and be official, while the little sister had more of the hesitation. So that was a little bit refreshing. It was such a cute little love story, but the ending of this book threw me for a complete loop. Like, when I say poop hit the fan, like poop hit the fan. I've never read an ending that made me so mad. Like, my blood was boiling. It was one of those endings where I just kind of wished everybody would have died at the end of the book, because that's how much I hurt inside for what all went down at the end of this novel. I finished this around 11:30 at night. I was in bed. If I had been out in the living room, I probably would have been pacing. And if I had the physical copy of the book, I probably would have thrown it against the wall. I swore I would never read another book in that series. But of course, you know what they say never, because she had convinced me to finish off their story. So naturally, I picked up the next book, which is called Garrison's Creed. I didn't rate Sweet Girl because I had no idea what to rate it after my blood was just completely boiling. So I did not rate that book. But with that said, it has some really great ratings on Goodreads. Now, onto Garrison's Creed. I have a very love-hate relationship with this book at the current moment. I'm about 50 pages away from finishing it. I'm probably not going to rate this book either. My two coworkers absolutely adored these two books. I think I'm just very cynical and I just can't get over the ending of Sweet Girl. But yeah, those two things happened this month. And then lastly, I read another new adult book called The CEO, and it was free on BookBub, so I picked it up knowing it was going to be a quick and easy read. This book follows a very successful and a very handsome CEO who ends up falling in love with his ex's sister. I know, super spicy and very dangerous. But yeah, it happened and it's a love story and it was pretty cute, and so I ended up rating it a 4 out of 5 stars. If you guys are interested in a new adult read and that topic kind of intrigues you, I do still think it's free on BookBub. And I think I said lastly to The CEO, but I lied. There is one more book and it is a graphic novel. Actually, I realized I read 2 graphic novels. Hold on just a second. Let me go get the other one. Okay, so I read 2 graphic novels this month, and the first one was Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. I was in the mood for a little Rose Hathaway because she's just so kick butt. And I remember my friend Hannah from Hannah Love Book saying that they had graphic novels of this book series. And I remember her not liking it as much, and now I can totally see why. The graphic novel seemed so cheesy. So I didn't really enjoy it very much. Definitely stick with the book series over the graphic novels. And the last graphic novel that I read was Alex and Ada, and it is by Jonathan Luna and Sarah Vaughn. I thoroughly enjoyed this graphic novel. I thought that the characters were really well developed, and I thought the artwork was absolutely stunning. And what I loved even more was the dialogue was both serious and comical. This follows Alex as he is gifted an android and she becomes way way more to him than just artificial intelligence. He kind of goes on this journey to free her from the constrictions that come with her being an android. And like I said, while it was a little bit serious at times, it did give some really great comic relief. And the grandma in this graphic novel is totally crazy, and she totally reminds me of my Grandma Hope. Like, my Grandma Hope would definitely send me an android if I was really sad and lonely. If you guys are interested in graphic novels and you haven't picked this one up yet, I definitely suggest you guys doing so. I rated it a 5 out of 5 stars, and I can't wait to get my hands on the second and third volume. Well, friends, that wraps it up for my February wrap up. I ended up reading 12 books and 2 graphic novels. So I would say overall it was a really great month. Be on the lookout for my best in books video. I don't know if I will be posting it before or after this video, but if I do post it before, I will go ahead and leave that link down below too. And on a totally unrelated book note, a lot of people tend to ask me about my lip color that I wear when I'm wearing a dramatic lip, and this lip color is Avenue by ColourPop. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and I'm sure I will see you soon. Bye.